Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Million Dollar Media. I'm your host, Max Keller Halls, and today we're going to be reviewing The Crow, the 2024 remake of the Brandon Lee classic based off the James O'Barr graphic novel of the same name. Alright, I know no one else saw this, so there's going to be some spoilers. No one clearly went to go see this and cared, so I went to go see this in theaters because the trailer looked somewhat interesting to me. I have a friend, hi Angie, who is a huge Crow fan. This video is made for people who want at least another opinion on the Crow film. What can I say about The Crow? For a film that has a goth icon, like the look of the original Crow and the original graphic novel, like defined an entire subculture of people growing up in that time. To this day, you could see the effects of people dressing up as the Crow and basing their style and their appearance off the Crow. And I think what the biggest sin this film commits is that this is perhaps the most bland film I have seen all year. The most paint by numbers and the paintbrush just being black of just tired cliches, story beats you've seen over and over again, and no real style or vibe to really be in the film. A very confusing soundtrack. Are they trying to be more punk? Are they trying to be more goth? Really hard to tell because, they'll have, I'm not the best at, recognizing every song in there, but I could swear there was one song I was like, that sounds like The Cure. There's a scene in the film where they play, weird 80s synth that does not fit. And to me, I was just thinking, if you're gonna make a Crow for the modern age, and I think this is a story that can be retold, even though that's what the film kind of is doing, even though they never say his last name or Shelley's last name, which I can't remember off the top of my head. But they made a point to be like, no, these are just another Eric and Shelley who had a very horrible thing happen to them. This might be connected to the original, but there's nothing in the film to say that it is connected to the original. So really what this is just a movie that doesn't know what it wants to do. The most inspired thing in this film is the design of the main character. And that's it. There was at least thought put into okay, if we're going to make a modern day Crow, we have to update the look of it because the goth punk aesthetic of the 90s does not really fit into the goth punk aesthetic of 2020 so far. So how do we change that? And with this film, their answer is, okay, make him look like a SoundCloud rapper. Get a white boy SoundCloud rapper. And I don't hate that idea. I just wish, I don't know, they kind of went into that idea a little bit more. Everything in this film kind of sets up interesting ideas. The tattoos, that, a lot of people had a problem with the design in that, oh, there's a bunch of tattoos, and it kind of looks like Jared Leto's Joker. In the film, they kind of used the tattoos as a way to, hide cut marks and self-harm marks, which I thought, that's interesting. I would like to see them explore that a little bit more, because inherently the whole vibe of The Crow is very depressing. So actually going into an idea of depression would have been interesting. But they don't really go there. They just kind of are there and they just kind of move on with it. They don't really go into it. They hint at a backstory involving a horse that kind of doesn't go anywhere, and it's just kind of there at the beginning, and then they hint to it throughout the film, but doesn't really lead into anything. Bill Skarsgård does his best to, make this character his own. There's not much to it. He's just playing it very low key, but I'll say this. He plays it in such a way where I believe that this guy would exist. I have seen people at pop punk parties, goth parties, and stuff like that I went to in college, and I've seen guys who look like that at these parties, with girls who look like Shelley in this film. And it makes sense why they went for that style, and I think he really does a good job kind of encapsulating that kind of person. However, when you're supposed to believe him becoming the Crow, it doesn't really work. Another really big problem with this film is that, all the Crow cool shit that you're wanting to see is in the last half, really last quarter of the film. Last half only in that, he gets the Crow powers, and in the last quarter, he dons the makeup. That there's just one action sequence, with him in makeup. That is it. There's nothing else. They have one scene with him in the makeup, and that's it. It's like they're afraid to commit to the overall look and feel of The Crow, which, if you're gonna make a Crow film, commit to doing The Crow. Don't pussyfoot around and be like, well, we want to make this more open to all audiences, not the goth hunk audience. And to that I say, then why make The fucking Crow? It's just, that got on my nerve. The film wants to do something different, unlike the original film, which I haven't seen. I know of it, and I know the legacy, and I have all the respect in the world for it. But I know that film doesn't really doesn't show much of the relationship between Shelley and Eric before they die. But in this film, half the film is just the relationship. And you would think on paper that is a good thing to show. Like, oh, hey, let's build up Shelley. Let's build up her backstory. Let's get to know her before she gets brutally murdered. And some can say fridged. Even though I wouldn't consider the plot of The Crow to be a fridging story. Because, like, the whole point of the original story was a story about grief and getting through grief. And how that can be manipulated and turned into something as a dangerous force. The writer of the book, James O'Barr, lost his girlfriend to a tragic car accident. So, like, it's never been about, like, we need a girl to die just to get the story going. It's always been about grief and trying to process grief and trying to get through grief and trauma in various different ways. And this is just one of those ways of just basically saying, fuck the world. Very goth. But with this film, they're trying to explain more of that relationship and then more of that backstory. However, it kind of takes away the whole point of the story in that bad shit happens to people out of the whim. There's usually no reason why people end up in these situations. Like, there's no reason for bad things to happen to people. But in this film, they explain that, oh yeah, Shelley was involved with Danny Houston's weird devil speak person. I don't fucking know what the whole point of that is. And she did something bad, and it kind of shakes up the relationship between Eric and Shelley. So what I kind of compare it to is, imagine Moby Dick, and instead of like just telling the story as it is, they decide, hey, let's show Moby Dick just being a fucking whale. And him seeing all these whaling atrocities done to his kind. But they still do the last half of that story is just the original Moby Dick. And they just rush through it. That's what this film feels like. Just a setup that goes for way too long for a payoff that's not really all that impressive. And kind of spits in the face of, like, the tragedy of the original story. Even though they kind of make it tragic in this film too, just in a different way. But the whole point is, like, if he kills everybody involved, Shelley's soul will be brought back up and she'll live again. And I'm just like, wait, that's what we're going for in this film? There's got to be some kind of catch here where it's just like, we were just tricking you. And that's the tragedy. No, Shelley lives at the end of this. And I'm just thinking, like, wow, that seems a bit tone deaf and like a big spit in the face to the original story and what it meant. The only thing is that Eric doesn't get to be with her. He's stuck in limbo with all the crows, and he's now basically the guy shepherding other people into the afterlife, or like shepherding other crows. That's how we end this film. Like, you can't commit to like the fact that this is a tragic story where no one really has a happy ending. Like, you can't do that. There's also characters that are just kind of fully omitted from the original story. The villains suck. There aren't really any fun, memorable henchmen like there are in the original story. No fun boy. Like, he ain't in this. Yeah, the film just commits the sin of not committing to what it is. And that's my biggest problem. Like, there's only one thing in this film that I thought was really creative, and it's a kill. And that's it. They never explain why he just carries around a samurai sword in this film. I guess he was just like, cool. Like, it's right there, I'll just use it. Like, that makes no sense. I'm like, I guess they just wanted to do some cool samurai sword stuff. And that's pretty much it. Like, there's not that much gunplay like there was in the original. Just a weird, weird film. I know what? It's not a weird film. It's a nothing film. And that's the problem. There's nothing to this that's going to be memorable. This is just going to be a stain on the overall legacy of The Crow. Well, this isn't The Crow. This is guy who puts on black eye makeup and kills people, the movie. That's it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little rambling of a video. I didn't take any notes because I was just like, I just want to get this fucking thing over with. This was pretty much a waste of time. And I hope I didn't waste your time. And I hope that like you listen to this review and continue not to go see the film that barely made the top 10 in the box office this week. And I don't even think by the time this gets out, it's going to be in the top 10 at all. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this video. If you like it, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos from us, hit that subscribe button. This being our 68th episode, we are about to do our 69th episode, which is going to be a very special episode. Can't wait to show that one with y'all. And yeah, I hope you have a good day. Bye.